Tested.
Hi, I'm Will from Tested.
I'm Norm from Tested.
Norm, what do we have today?
We have cameras.
Cameras?
Well, just one really new camera. But we have a bunch of cameras on the table. So when most people think about cameras, they think of two categories.
Okay.
So on the high end, you have DSLRs.
Yeah, these big heavy things.
Exactly.
Like $600,000, $5,000.
Yeah, they can get really expensive because of the lenses.
Yeah,
they can get really pricey. They're a big investment.
Yeah, so even if you start with like a $1,000 starter kit, you still can easily get into another $1,000 buying glass.
And also pretty intimidating if you just use a point and shoot.
There's a lot of knobs and dials and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And this is even in a new DSLR. It's the one we use in the office. So on the other end, point and shoots, or as a lot of people are using these days, camera phones. They're good enough, right?
My iPhone's awesome.
Like
It takes
the
great
iPhone 4S
pictures.
takes 8-megapixel pictures.
Yeah.
They're fine. Most people, if they're shopping for a camera, they either have a nice camera phone, nice point and shoot maybe. I don't even recommend a point and shoot, or DSLR. Well, there's actually a third category of cameras that's been around for a while, a couple years now, that we really haven't looked at, but we have a new one, or a relatively new one, in today. It's the mirrorless camera line.
So what's the difference between these new mirrorless sensors, DSLRs, and point and shoots?
Well, the point and shoot sensors and the camera phone sensors are actually really small. DSLR sensors are massive, but the bodies are big because they're mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, this thing weighs like 2 pounds.
Yeah, well, almost.
Yeah.
Mirrorless cameras have big sensors, but small bodies, but the lenses are interchangeable.
Oh, so this big thing with the giant lens on front, you can actually pop the lens off and put a different lens on.
And when I pop this lens off, which I'll do right now, you can actually see that the sensor is pretty massive.
Wow, that's a lot of sensor. And because it's, well, you say it's mirrorless. The reason we say it's mirrorless is in an SLR, when you take the lens off, the thing you see is actually the mirror. So this mirror, reflects light from the viewfinder down into the lens, and then when you take a picture, the mirror flips up and exposes the sensor.
So small form factor, the body, but a really nice sensor. And actually, in this Sony camera, so this is Sony's NEX-C3, it was released this summer, second generation mirrorless camera for Sony. The sensor is actually almost the size of a DSLR.
It's a huge sensor.
It's massive. It's the same as the APS-C sensor, but Sony's design.
And so it's a 16 megapixel camera, but megapixels less important now.
Less important. Don't matter. I mean, megapixels are an old metric. What really matters is sensor size and the lens, really.
And like noise and speed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. ISO and stuff. So for this particular camera, it uses an E mount, which is Sony's proprietary mount. They kind of announced it last year. There are about 7 different lenses right now. This camera, you can either get this zoom lens, which is 18 to 55 millimeter.
Okay, and the lenses are going to range from like wide angle all the way up to big
exactly.
zoom.
It's not that great of a zoom. I mean, our DSLR one goes up to 200 millimeters, but it's a perfectly serviceable lens.
It's kind of a multi-purpose lens, right? It's good for portraits. It's good for distance shots.
Yep. And so it's f-stop's 3.5, so it's pretty good for macro stuff. You can get some good depth of field.
Okay.
And back to the sensor is actually really good. It has really good low light. I took some photos in our bar at night, and ISO goes up to 12,800.
Wow, that's a lot of ISO.
It's really high ISO.
Just to give perspective, what's the ISO on like a normal DSLR?
Normal, like the new ones can go up that high. Like really, you really don't shoot that high.
Right, you shoot around 1600.
Yeah, 1600, right? 6400, but even at 1600, it looks fine. It looks great. Not noisy, grainy at all.
Cool.
And it's pretty fast. So great for action shots, landscape stuff. There's like your typical face detection. Some other stuff about the camera. I'm gonna look at the back. It's LCD based. Okay. So there's like a 3-inch LCD, 640 by 480.
And it doesn't have a traditional viewfinder at all, because with no mirror, there's no optical path.
Right? No optical path, but some of the other mirrorless cameras have electronic viewfinders. This one doesn't, and there's no mount for you to even put an electronic viewfinder in there. You have all of your aperture priority, you have your shutter priority, everything. All the manual settings you would normally find in DSLR.
Okay.
Autofocus is still traditional contrast-based autofocus, which technically doesn't matter all that much, but it's the same. That's another differentiator.
But that's a point-and-shoot thing rather than a DSLR. Because the DSLR thing actually has like a sensor that
they use
distance,
phase-based autofocus. But it worked fine for me. You can actually do focus, lock your focus, and then manual focus on the lens, which is kind of nice. And I think the quality really speaks for itself. We'll show some pictures on the screen now, and the quality really matches that, I think, at least an entry-level DSLR.
And it does like panoramas and HDR shots and all sorts of crazy whiz-bang gimmicks and tricks.
So really easy, landscape panoramas. You sweep the camera, smile detection, so it can take the picture as soon as it sees a smile.
Okay.
Didn't recognize Patrick's face.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was weird.
Big hair. It's kind of weird. And it does do some light HDR stuff. It also saves in both JPEG and RAW. and even the JPEGs look really good.
But with RAW, you can go back and do all sorts of cool post-processing.
Exactly.
What about this? So the viewfinder actually pops off too, right? So
yeah, so another really cool feature I like, and it's kind of unique to the Sony line, is that the viewfinder, you can shoot different angles. So you can shoot from the hip.
Okay, so you can make everybody look really fat.
Yes, shooting from the hip is reckless, and you need a good perk for stabilization. You know,
This isn't Call of Duty, man.
No, it's not a gun. Shooting from the hip. You can also shoot from above and aim the viewfinder below if you're at a concert.
And does it go the same direction?
No, it angles more from below.
Okay.
Yeah. I really enjoyed shooting with this. It's not pocketable.
Okay.
So
at least not with this.
Not with this lens. I would say you would need pretty big cargo pants or like a really big man purse to really have this portable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily carry this in like a bag, a camera bag, because it's not big enough for that. So it's kind of this weird size because you can't put it in your pocket, but you don't really need to sling it over your shoulder.
How easy are the controls to use? Do you have to look at the screen? Is it touchscreen?
It's not touchscreen. So like some of the Panasonic Olympics ones have touchscreen controls. Yeah. This one is just your typical dial. The dial is really cool in that you can program the D-pad buttons.
Oh, so it's a dial, a D-pad, and then there's a center button as well.
Yep, exactly. So I found the controls really easy and lots of display options. I mean, just go in the menus. It's actually really user-friendly. Lots of response, so I can just scroll and change f-stop.
And you can change the settings, the maps to what you want them to be, depending on how you use the camera, right?
Yep.
How much does this thing cost?
This is $600 with this lens.
That's
if you want the wide angle 2.8 lens, I think 16 millimeter, it is $50 cheaper. The lenses are not as expensive, I think, as DSLR lenses. They range between $200 to about $800. There aren't too many of the E-mount lenses out there.
Are they image stabilized and all that stuff as well? Okay.
Yes. But again, you can get the adapter if you want to use like a Canon lens.
And what about flash? This doesn't have a flash on it.
No built-in flash. There is a shoe on top that you can pop an accessory, but you have to buy the accessory.
That looks really proprietary and not at all like a normal flash shoe.
Exactly.
So what about video, Norm?
It does shoot video, 720p, saves H.264, just 30 FPS. I didn't find the video that great. It's comparable really to the iPhone video.
But with better glass.
Yeah, better glass, better sensor, but it's like you can't really customize the settings.
Can you do cool depth of field stuff on the video or not?
Yeah,
so
you can adjust the lens manually, but not too many settings as you're shooting video.
And will it focus while you're shooting video or?
Yeah, minor focus. Yeah, it's not unremarkable. I wouldn't buy this to shoot video with.
This is a photo camera to upgrade you from a phone, not to replace a DSLR, it seems like.
Yep, definitely. I think a really good entry-level camera for people. Great for parents.
Yeah.
Learning. If you're going to buy a DSLR.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
Well, you have parents, right?
I do have parents. You're right.
Right. Yeah, they might want one of these.
Okay.
Don't give them a DSLR because they're going to get really intimidated and waste a lot of money on glass that they might not need. Get them one of these.
Okay.
I'm not particularly recommending this model because we haven't tested all the different, all the mirrorless ones, Micro Four Thirds ones, but definitely it's a category that you should look into, do your research. It's really interesting. So this is Sony's NEX-C3 on sale now. You can buy it anywhere.
It's like $600 with this lens and $50 cheaper with the
wide angle
zoom lens. Yeah. For Test Time, Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys next time.
Bye.